Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Janderra. I'm Geraldine. Now, I've had a few people ask me, what does Janderra mean? So I thought the easiest way to actually go through and explain it all was to actually make a video on it, because it's a little bit of an in-depth story. It's got some interesting information there, some that I hope people might find interesting. So yeah, so let's have a look. What does Janderra mean? Okay, so let's have a look at some of the history. So the name actually comes from our previous property, which was at 282 to 290 Eagleby Road, Eagleby, and it was called Janderra by the first Europeans that actually settled there, and they were Germans, and it was back in the late 1800s. So this is the house. It was built in the early 1900s, and this property, it's 3.5 acres. Beautiful property, and I've got lots of videos on that on my channel, so feel free to have a look at some of the older videos from back when the channel first started. So yeah, a little bit about my children and my health issues and how this relates to the property name. So yeah, so I have polycystic ovaries, or PCOS. I have endometriosis, and I have a retroverted uterus. That's just the fertility issues. We're not going into anything else. So yeah, I was told as a teenager that if I didn't have children when I was young, I wasn't going to be able to have them. And I had Crystal, my eldest, when I was 21, and then I ended up getting divorced, and I was a single mum for like 11 years, and then I got married to Gavin, and we've been married for nearly 13 years now. And soon after we got married, I got pregnant with Matthew, who is now 11, nearly 12. Matthew, from about the age of 2, was asking for a brother or sister, but preferably a brother, a sibling anyway. And every night before he went to bed, he would ask. And I had no other answer for him other than, buddy, you're going to have to pray and ask God, because I'm doing all I can do. God's got to perform a miracle. Because really, from the doctor's perspective, Matthew already was a miracle, because I think it was 37 or something like that when I had Matthew. So fairly unusual for someone on PCOS to actually have a child that old, when they're that age. So this photo here was taken in 2013, and what we've got here is we've got Crystal, my mum, Gavin, and Matthew, and that's me. So yeah, in this picture, Matthew was 4 and Crystal was 17. So there's a bit of an age gap. So yeah, so we purchased Janderra in Eagleby in 2016, and my pregnancy with Jonathan was dated from the day we moved in. And absolutely fascinating, because like a year before this happened, I was actually at a ladies' conference at Lighthouse, just like I was this weekend. So I was at a ladies' conference, and there was a lady there called Amanda Wells, very gifted lady. And she had a word of knowledge that there was somebody in the audience that had been trying to get pregnant for a very long time and hadn't been able to. Now, I'd been trying to get pregnant for 7 years. 7 years, guys, 7 years. And I'd pretty much given up and decided it wasn't going to happen. But Amanda ended up praying for me, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So this was in 2015 when she prayed. She came back again the following year, and I went up to her, and I didn't know that I was pregnant at the time, but we had just purchased Janderra. So I was showing her pictures of Janderra and going, I'm not pregnant yet, but still believe in God. But I did birth this. So I showed her the picture of Janderra and was really excited about it. And it actually turned out a couple of weeks later, we found out that I was actually pregnant. So yeah, so that was really exciting, but it was dated from the day we moved in. And I don't know if you know much about how pregnancies are dated and all that sort of stuff, but it's not from the date of conception. It's from the first day of the cycle. And because of my PCOS, that's impossible to figure out. My cycle can go anywhere from a month to 3 months or longer. So I mean, it's reasonably regular at the moment, but yeah, anyway. So we got pregnant. We moved into Janderra and I got pregnant. And for months, I hunted and hunted and hunted to try and find out what Janderra meant, because meanings of names is really important. Words have power. At least I believe they do, and the Bible says they do. So who am I to argue? See, this photo here is actually taken when Jonathan's only like a day or two old. We're still in the hospital in this photo. And can you see that smile on Matthew's face? Oh my goodness, he loves his little brother. So yeah. Anyway, so names are important, and I'm usually really good at finding names. Like my name is Gera, and it's an unusual name. Apparently it's Welsh, and it means fair love, I believe. It's actually a male's name. Oh. And my middle name is Alice, which means princess. I think I should check that again. My maiden name is Law. My previous married name is Ruck. And I didn't want to change my name after I got divorced because I didn't want Crystal and I to have different names. I didn't want it to get confusing. Now, it wasn't until God kind of really put his hand on my heart and said, hey, you need to look into this. And I found out that Ruck meant cantankerous. I'm like, this isn't good. But then to look at it and you go, I was a law, so I was under the law, and I became cantankerous. And then I went back to the law and I became a Jensen, which is a son of Jen. So kind of little, I find it entertaining and funny anyway. Not related to Jensen, to Janderra. But yeah, so months, I couldn't find the name meaning for Janderra. It was very frustrating. So anyway, we went and we had an ultrasound on the 31st of July. So I was pregnant right there. I'd probably been about 3 months pregnant. So we found out we were having a boy. Oh dear. Sorry, it's late. And the very next day, Gavin goes on to Google and finds the meaning of Janderra. Could have throttled him, hey. I was so frustrated because I've been looking for the meaning of this word name for so long. It wasn't funny. But let's go have a look at what he found. Because it's really, it amazes me. It really does. So he found this website. It's a surname database. And I just find this absolutely mind-blowing. It could reasonably be argued that this is the most famous, so Janderra, I grant you this is only spelled with one R, but he could reasonably argue that this is the most famous name and surname in the Christian world. It was recorded from the 12th century AD onwards in every European country in a range of spellings, of which there are believed to be over 1,400 in total. These range from the base forms such as John or John, so that's the England or Wales version, to Evan in Wales, Ian in Scotland, Shane, Ivan, Jean, Giovanni, and there's a whole heap of them, including Jensen, although it's spelled differently from the way we spell our name. But however spelt, all have derived from a biblical Hebrew word being, I think it's pronounced Yokahan. I'm not sure, but it translates as he who Jehovah has favored with a son. I mean, seriously, guys, I had just found out the day before that I was pregnant with a boy. I mean, you can't write about that sort of, you can't make that sort of stuff up. My imagination's not that good. Yeah, so the name became particularly popular in the 12th century when returning crusaders from the Holy Land would often call their children by biblical names to commemorate in commemoration of their father's pilgrimage. So there's lots of, it's just, It's mind-blowing to me. And the really interesting thing is, I actually was talking to my neighbour at Janderra, and telling her that I'd just found out that I was having a baby and that it was a boy. I mean, I'd been telling her bits and pieces before that, but she just kept getting more and more excited. And I'm like, what's going on? What happened? And she's like, the people that used to live here previously, they'd actually been, before they moved in, they'd been trying to get pregnant for 8 years. 8 years, guys. And they'd been going through IVF, and they moved into Janderra and got pregnant and had a little girl. I mean, it's so cool. It really is. But let's move on. I feel you can't make up this sort of stuff. It is just mind-blowing what God is doing and what God has done. I feel so blessed. And you could say, oh, it's a coincidence. And you can. Feel free. It could be. I don't know. But it's really cool. So yes. So at the age of 42, on the 14th of February, also known as Valentine's Day, I had little Jonathan. So beautiful little Jonathan came into this world, and he has blessed our lives and our hearts ever since. He has been an absolute blessing to our lives. I mean, so is Matthew. They're both little blessings. But Jonathan's birthday is Valentine's Day. It's like he's a little Valentine's Day present to me from God. It's very special, and he's got such a heart to help. He's really loving. I mean, Matthew's lovely as well. But both boys are just so different and so unique. It's my children are beautiful. I love them to bits. So we moved to our new property last year in 2020, and we tried to come up with a name, and we couldn't go past Janderra. I mean, we brought it with us. So now we call this property Janderra Homestead, because we have been blessed with two gorgeous sons. It just is. We have been favoured by God with two awesome, beautiful little sons. And this is the property here. It's 10 acres in the Lockyer Waters in the beautiful Lockyer Valley in Queensland, in Australia. It is just an absolute delight. I love it. Yeah. So that's Janderra. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And I look forward to catching you in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe to hear how things are going on the property, and catch you in the next video. Bless you.